Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking this time out to listen. Today, we're going to talk about those myths that we tell ourselves so that we can remain in toxic relationships. It's been a long time for some of you all since you have dated, since you have been involved with someone. And so you're taking it slow, those of you all who are single and dating. Then there are those of you all who are in relationships and have been in relationships in the double digits for some time now. And you have no intention of getting free from a bad relationship. You know it's bad. You know the person's toxic, but you have no intention of doing that because you don't want to just make more work for yourself. You don't want the drama. You don't want to have to answer the children. And then some of you all will say, well, I'm just too old, honey. I'm too old. I'm just going to stick this thing out. Okay. People don't have a problem when you say that you want to stick it out with your husband or with your wife. Okay. Despite them being toxic. Okay. They really don't have a problem with it because that's your lot in life. What they have a problem with is when you come up with the excuses as to why you need to stay. Leave the excuses out. You just want to be with your husband. We get that. You just want to be with your wife. Okay, fine. But don't come up with these lame excuses, okay? Because one thing about the internet exposes everybody on their BS, okay? And I'm just keeping it real and honest, okay? What happens is that we will say silly things like, and this was something that I've said, oh, well, and this was back before I had kids and I was engaged, and the man that I was involved with, he was calling me all sorts of names, and he was just ready to fight me on anything because I would disagree with him about stuff. And I would do it in an intellectual sort of way because I was in college. And he had never been to college. So that was a problem right there. So, oh, you think you're better than me, listen to the way you talk. I couldn't help it at that time. The folks that I was around, okay, they talked in a way that wasn't ghetto, so to speak, or street. So therefore, I'm going to talk in a way that is professional and educated, but that came off to him as being haughty, okay, and you think you're better and all that. So that would make him angry. He start cussing, calling me stupid and dumb, and you don't know what you're talking about, even though I did know what I was talking about. And later on he would admit, well, yeah, you got a point. But then I had to go through all this name calling though before he agreed, okay. And then the issues that he had, personal issues that he had, as well as a habit that at the time I didn't know about, that was fluctuating his mood. So the next thing you know, we're getting into arguments, and then those arguments would lead to him putting his hands on me. And I took it for about 9 months until the last great battle. That was it. I was going to fight for my life. Okay. So that's the background information and why I feel the need to tell you, especially during Domestic Violence Awareness Month, being in October, to tell you that we got to stop with the excuse making, okay, when it comes to these toxic relationships, okay? And some folks, they may not be in a toxic relationship, but they'll use other people's excuses to keep them in the mess that they're in. So they'll say, well, my mom's too old and she needs to stick it out with my dad. Okay, but your dad is being abusive toward her. Well, but it is what it is. Or, she got too many kids. She need to stick it out with that man. No, she doesn't. If the man is hitting her and insulting her and doing any number of crazy things to her, those kids are watching, and he's teaching them to be future abusers. So I don't suggest that we, say things like that. Just don't. Okay. So these myths are the types of things that we need to give over to Jesus. We really do. We have to talk to him and tell him that I've got some excuses. I've got some myths. I've got some lies that I'm telling myself about why I should stay with a toxic partner or I've told these lies to other people as to why they need to stay with their toxic partners. Okay. There is enough information out here that will expose these lies. When it comes to I can't leave because of my kids, if you go over to an article that came out, it was called 4 Lies Boomers Believe. Okay. And this article, that's a short version of it, the title, but the full title is 4 Lies Boomers Believe to Stay Unhappily Married. Okay. If you read those 4 lies, I'm sure you're going to come up with about 4 more lies and 4 more lies after that. Okay. Take a look at that article because the writer does an excellent job. It's written by Shannon Bradley Collery. Okay. The 4 lies, to just summarize it, and then I'm going to move on to some other little myths, is the divorce will destroy my kids. Okay. So you're staying in a toxic relationship because of that. I'm too old to divorce. I'm too old to find a new relationship. And number 4 is at my age, I can better manage my toxic relationship. I'm not as fragile now as I was when I was young. Okay. Okay. Now, what makes these what seem to be great excuses, right? What makes them lies? Well, first up, if you interview some children, you will find out that these children will tell you, I'm so glad that my mother and my father got away from each other because I got sick of them arguing. Okay. They wanted to stay together for us, but the reality was that this was emotionally taxing on us. So I'm glad that they left each other. I'm glad they broke up. I'm glad they divorced. Okay. Yeah. Will there be those children that will say, oh, I wish my mom and dad would have stayed together? Yeah, of course, but the truth is that nobody wants to live in a household where it's always somebody getting slapped, hit, choked, cussed out, and everything else. It's stressful. It's abusive. It's a wonder that any of these kids do well in school. Okay. In that same article, the other lie on being too old to divorce. Okay, people are living longer. When you read the article, I mean, it's plain. People are living longer, so you're not too old. Maybe back in the day when people had shorter lifespans, yes. But you're older, you're living longer. You could divorce if you really wanted to. If you wanted to spend your last years peaceful, happy, excited, feeling good about life, wanting to do you, then that excuse, that's nothing more than what it is. It's an excuse, and it's also a lie. This business of too old to find a new relationship, there's internet dating websites. So even if you're fearful, oh, I can't find anyone else, and he's the only one, and she's the only one, no. There's too many people out here that would be your compatibility thanks to all of these questionnaires, and so that's another lie. And then that one point that she made about at my age, I can better manage my toxic relationship. I'm not as fragile now as I was when I was young. No, if anything, you're just stressing yourself out more because you're getting older. Okay, so the likelihood of you having mental illnesses, physical problems within your body, I mean, it's pretty good. Because back in the day when you were younger, you could take a lot of that. You could take it in, but as you get older, your body takes a hit. Okay. So these are some of the lies. Now, I will tell you that some other lies that I've heard over the years when it comes to I can't get out of this relationship is I love them. And some folks will say, what do you mean? That's not a lie. Yeah, it is. It is for many people, because what they are in love with is the material wealth the Lord showed me. They're in love with that house that they got together. They're in love with the cars. They're in love with, all of these acquired possessions. They know that when they leave those relationships, that there's a good chance that they're not going to be living good like that anymore. So they're going to tell all of us that, no, I can't leave this relationship because I love him. I can't leave this relationship because I love her, please. No, that's a lie. You can't leave a relationship because you know that you love that stuff in that relationship so much. Okay. The love long left. It long left. And some people convince themselves that they still love folks when the reality is that they don't love them. And you can see it when they're standing together, or when they're avoiding each other's passions and projects and things that they're doing. They're not supportive. So the love was long gone. It's just a matter of sticking it out because of financial issues, because maybe he doesn't want to pay child support and alimony. She doesn't want to have to deal with rent and light and gas and everything else. Okay. So that's definitely one of those that gets thrown around a lot. Another one that people will come up with as far as excuses / lies when it comes to sticking it out with a toxic person is this business of, well, my mother thinks, or my father thinks, or my relatives might act like this or might act like that. I mean, they're the ones who got us together. Okay, that's foolishness too, because 9 times out of 10, if you were telling them all of this negative stuff about your relationship, if anything, they're saying, please, I wish this girl would just go ahead on and break up with this man. I'm so sick of hearing these stories. Or I wish my son would just stop telling me about how he almost wanted to, hit his girlfriend or, his wife because of this thing and that thing. I just wish he would leave. Some will just say that. Others won't. They'll just keep it to themselves. But then once those divorce papers are being processed and you start talking to them, they're saying things like, I was praying. What? What do you mean you were praying? I was praying that you would finally leave him or leave her. Get out of here. You were. Well, you never said anything. That's because, well, I didn't want you to be mad at me. You see? So using relatives and friends and everybody else saying that, well, they'll be mad, or I don't want to disappoint them because we got together because of them. More excuses. Okay. There are other reasons why people stay with toxic partners. Some of them are very, very personal. Sexual reasons. Okay. Without getting into detail. They just are addicted to being with that person intimately. And that person has done some things to their bodies that they have never experienced with anyone else. And so they want to keep just being involved with that. No, it's not a lie. No, it's not really an excuse until the person acts as if there's nobody else that could ever satisfy them. And that's foolish. You haven't been with everybody in the world. How do you know? Okay. So, those are the types of things that you definitely have to take to the Lord, and ask him to deliver you from that, because that's usually a lust spirit that's operating. It's not so much a love spirit as it is a lust spirit. So you have to ask the Lord for deliverance from those sorts of things. So that's just some of many reasons as to why a person feels like they need to stick it out with a toxic individual, and then use these things to make excuses as to why I got to go through. I don't feel like breaking up. I don't want to break up. Just say you just want to be with that person and be done with it. All the excuses are not necessary, because God will use people, places, and things to expose you on all of it. especially if he's the one that's calling you out of a bad relationship. He's going to say, okay, give me something else. What's another excuse, another lie you done told yourself? Well, I believe that he's going to get this money and there's going to be some opportunity for him. And, I just can't leave him during this time in his life. Yeah, because you want to benefit. Or, well, folks are dying in the family and I just don't want to leave her during this tough time and all of that. Well, there's going to be people dying for the next 10, 15, 20 plus years. And you're still going to be arguing, still having attitude, still threatening violence, still having cops called or whatever else in some situations. Okay? All of these excuses, well, she's dying or he's dying and the relationship isn't very good, but I don't want to do that to her. Or I don't want to do that to him. And then who knows? Well, look, compassion is a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. But you're going to send that person to their grave faster if you're arguing with them all the time. Okay? If I'm dying, I don't want to listen to somebody screaming at me. I don't want somebody treating me disrespectfully, going out cheating. A lot of women ended up dying prematurely because they already seen that the love left. Okay? A lot of men, same thing, died prematurely. Could have lived a little bit longer with cancer, but died prematurely because they seen the love left out of their partner's eyes. And they seen that their partner was looking for their replacement. So that's going to send a woman to her grave sooner. Some people don't want to catch hold of that. They don't even want to believe that, but it happens. It happens. I'm dying. And then you go out here and you're with this one and that one, or you're talking in such a way where you've already made plans for your future without me. Oh, okay. Or maybe you caught me in a weak moment and I told you, go ahead on, live your life, but I really didn't mean it because I'm still here. But yet you go ahead on and you do what you want to do. You see? So if you can see that in that example, then see it with the other things as well. We make excuses. We make excuses to stick it out with toxic people. If he's dying, you give that over to the Lord. But you can't tolerate him much longer because he might send you to the grave right along with him. And there have been people who have died before the person who had the terminal illness because the person with the terminal illness was causing them so much stress. Okay? Oh gosh, I can't stress enough that don't make the excuses. Face the fact that the relationship has run its course, that you're not happy and he's not happy. And trust that God will see you through this tough time in your life. And that's it. That's it. Everything else is nothing more than distractions from the enemy to do ultimately what? Kill your spirit or possibly your body, steal, continue to take from you, okay? Whether you know or don't know, and destroy. Destroy you from your reputation down to your body. It's not worth it. If you haven't gotten the book, get Socially Sweet, Privately Cruel, Abusive Men by NichollMcGuire. Thank you so much as always for listening, and may God bless you and those you love.